Welcome to Save the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole.
I'm Vanessa. And I have things to start with already.
Jeezy Pete's jumping right in. Do it.
I want to complain. Can I complain? Can I start off?
What is the use of having a podcast if you can't use it to complain about things?
Thank you. This is why I knew it was the right choice to do this with you.
Okay. I'm ready.
I want to complain about Everand.
Oh, you should.
Thank you. I wanted to start off this episode with my massive frustration with Everand this week. If anyone started using Everand, I'm sure you probably noticed this week that they just updated their membership, I guess is what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you still pay the same amount that you were paying before, that $11.99 a month. However, now they are basically like Audible. So your $11.99 goes to 1 credit a month, and then that's it, instead of like your unlimited, which is fine. I'm going to say right now, I understand as a business, you have to make money. I get it. Right?
But
you signed all these contracts with all these publishers, blah, blah, blah. But don't trick me with your words. Because the wording, when it said to upgrade or to switch over, the wording said that basically what it made it sound like was you get everything you get now, and then your 1 credit is going to be for all their new premium books.
Right.
Well, fucking liars.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, everything on there is now premium. So all of the books that I had previously saved under the old membership that was available to me is now as a premium book, and I can only listen to it with a credit. Mm-hmm. And I am fucking angry about it. Also, Do you want to know? So I had given you the advice, and I also told my sister, like, don't switch over. Mm-hmm. Don't do it till they make you. Well, basically everything that they consider premium is basically hidden from you now.
Yes.
So it's basically useless to you.
Right. So I haven't been in there. So I finished a book yesterday on
Mm-hmm.
there that I already had started, and I had seen that they, were trying to get me to swap over, but I was trying to understand it, and I was like, what is this unlock? BS. And so like I went to try to find anything, because I like Googled, it was like anything that's premium will have like a little unlock symbol or a little lock symbol on it. Mm-hmm. So I went through and I couldn't find anything that had lock symbols, and I was like, something doesn't feel right,
because they lied to you about that too.
Right. So I was like, I'll just hold off and see what happens. And then like 2 or 3 days later, you were like, what the fuck? Oh no, I did not mean to find out this way.
No, I'm so pissed. And so the only reason I found out about the fact that like now if you don't switch over, it just is hidden from you, is my sister and I were looking for our next book club book. And all the books that were like, she would be like, mention a book, and I would look it up on mine, and it would show up as being unlockable, but on hers she couldn't see it at all. So I was like, basically what they're doing is they're just hiding them now, and you just don't get to see any of the stuff. So it's not even worth it for you to keep it until they forced you whatever. So I was so upset. This is not something I do. I'm completely unconfrontational. I don't like I never want to speak to the manager. But I was so fucking pissed about this. I emailed them and basically was just like, I don't understand what the wording of what you told me to do and what it actually is. Like, those two things don't match up. I'm very upset about this. And they basically said, we're sorry that you had this experience. Here's 3 free unlocks for you. But basically the end.
Not my problem.
Exactly. So I'm going to use my 3 free unlocks, and then I'm canceling Everand because it doesn't. Oh, and the unlock that you get once a month does not roll over. If you don't use it in that month, it's gone for the next one. So you just spent $12 for it to just go away.
So on top of you having the 3, if you paid for this month and it gave you an unlock, at the end of the month, your unlock goes away.
Yeah. So I'm going to use all 3 of them by the end of the month, because I don't know if my free ones count as this as well. So I'm just going to download all 3 by the end of the month and then cancel them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm sorry to start off on a sad note, but I wanted to start this episode with my rage from this week.
Justified rage.
Thank you.
I haven't been in there since I finished my last book to look and see what's left of my wish list.
Yeah.
But
probably none of it.
Yeah. Next week I'll let you know. I guess after I take a look.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well.
Not great.
No, that's that. So, do you have anything that's lighter? Lighter. Anything lighter than my rage?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Well, you're probably going to talk about it at the end because you're very good at this stuff, but I was doing some stuff today trying to catch up on my notes and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh. This week, as in
when it comes out.
Bonus Bites, and I said it right this time, Bonus Bites Eclipse will release on Sunday, the following Sunday, which technically I guess counts as the next week, but but I was looking and I was like, oh man, you'll get 1 episode and Bonus Bites on the same day, on the 1st. So it's like the very first day of December, we wish you a Merry Xmas. Here's 2 episodes of us.
Yeah. There's only a few of the months where it starts out on the where the Sunday is on the 1st, and this just happens to be one of them. Yes.
I know, I was super excited when I saw that. I was like, man, this is awesome.
They're also going to get a double episode the first weekend of January, because they're going to get a special end of year wrap up episode on the same day as our regular episode.
So many episodes.
So much of us in your ears.
You'll hear episodes for everyone.
Yes.
So
that is not what I thought you were going to say when you said that I probably had it on my list, because the other thing is that this episode actually comes out before Thanksgiving. If it's something if it's a thing you think, as you said last time.
Exactly.
Yes, Thanksgiving for our US listeners is this week on Thursday.
Yep. So if it's a thing you think, happy thing, and for the rest of you, whatever,
enjoy your Thursday.
I hope you don't have to work.
Yeah. You can, in solidarity, eat grilled cheese and Funyuns with me. I
took my son grocery shopping this weekend. I know I want to talk about this later, but I took him grocery shopping this weekend, and it was funny because he was like grabbing snacks, and he was like, "Can we make grilled cheese tonight?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then he grabbed a giant bag of Steakhouse Funyuns, and I was like, "Well,
he already knows." Yes, he already knows what I want.
Yep. So I thought that was funny.
Yes. Good job.
So, but yeah, that's all of the, I guess if you want to call it news or announcements or things that make me angry. I didn't have any this week.
Okay.
So at least not things that made me angry.
All right. I was just asking for general, like, anything better than angry news about your week.
Oh, well, my week was a regular week.
Okay.
A normal week, I guess. I don't really remember anything exciting happening. So I know me and you together went out for drinks on Thursday after work with one of our coworkers because it's his last day in office.
Friend of the pod.
And then, but other than that, like personal things, like, you know, like Mike left for the cabin on like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I haven't seen him in almost a week. And then what else? Ethan came up to visit. Like I said, we went grocery shopping. So that was fun. I spent a ridiculous amount of money this week on food. Besides like DoorDash on Friday and grocery shopping. I just want a ridiculous amount of food because not only did I have to buy food, but I needed to buy food for Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
And then we bought football snacks. And then we just made a whole bunch of like seasonal snacks because he was like, I miss Chex Mix. And, like stuff like that. So
he's just like, Mom, feed me.
Exactly. All the things that I haven't had in months, I want you to make this weekend.
That's right.
I ate a lot of food this weekend.
Fun.
Did any of
them make the list for your snack this week?
I have a lot of contenders.
Okay.
Because I made guac because I love guac. Like I said, I made Chex Mix. I made cookies. I had Danishes left over from Thursday.
From work.
And my friend invited me to go to Costco on Wednesday. Well, something that they have there is those, I know you don't like dark chocolate, but they have dark chocolate covered mango slices. Oh my goodness.
I also don't like mango.
Oh.
So I'm out.
Vanessa.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so delicious. Oh.
Is it like frozen or like dried?
They're dry. They're dried like mango slices, and then they're covered in dark chocolate. Okay. And since you don't like either of those things, I will be spiteful this week and say that is my snack.
Great choice. Just like my husband. Always wanting to be spiteful.
It is a way of life.
Yeah, okay. I accept this. I suppose. My snack is not any of those things. I had also a couple of different options for snacks this week. One of them being those cookies that you brought in.
Those are delicious.
Pastry cookie. I don't know what you would call it, but
yeah, I was calling them breakfast cookies because
they're like the orange raspberry flavor or something. Those were so good. And then I
have one left. There's one left on my counter right now. I thought about bringing it into work for you tomorrow.
If you do, I will eat it.
Okay, I'll bring it in tomorrow.
Okay, great. And then there was another thing I had on my list, but I can't remember what it is. I must have eaten too many things this week. But I think I'm going to choose, when we went out to the bar on Thursday, you bought those what were they even? Like
onion petals.
Okay, onion petals. Great. They're so basically fried onion. So delicious. We're going to go with onion petals this week.
They are good.
Yes.
And since we've both decided that we're not going to eat tots from there anymore.
Oh my goodness. We can't. I can't eat tots there anymore.
No, it hurts so much.
I always feel like shit the next day.
Yes.
It's probably just so much grease.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be.
I can't.
My body is not made to recycle that much grease.
No. Good gracious. I don't really have anything for this week as far as like life goes.
Yeah.
It was just life.
Yeah. Me and Ethan went to Second and Charles, which is a bookstore. It's like a used bookstore, but they also sell like movies and like those, things for like, if they sell like a bazillion and a half of those pop figures.
Oh yeah.
And then, just like book related merchandise. So there's a lot of that stuff in there. So we went there on Sunday, I think, and Ethan got like 2 movies, which I paid for. And then, and then I did a very good job, and I only bought 3 books.
Well, is that a good job when you texted me before and said, I'm not buying any? I feel like 3 when your goal was 0 is not a success.
Well, 0 times 3 is still 0.
Fair, but I don't think that's how this math works. You
Fine.
Still came home with 3 new books.
No. In our podcast, if you go to a store, this is a new rule
right.
for our podcast, and anybody who listens to it. if you go to a bookstore and say, I'm going to buy 0 books, it doesn't matter how many books you buy because you always multiply by 0 and the answer is 0. So how many books you buy? 0.
This is some girl math shit that I don't think the husbands are going to agree with.
You know what?
But I accept. Fair. I will let you have this.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I hope this works for everybody else.
Yes.
So
just share this clip.
Yes.
Be like, they said it counts as 0. I like this plan.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't.
But that's it. That's all I had this week.
All right. Do you want to talk about books?
Of course I want to talk about books.
Do you want to go first?
I feel like I just talked a lot.
Okay.
You can go first.
Is that because you know that I only have one book? Okay.
I had a suspicion.
For no particular reason this week, it just happened. I did start a second book, but I stopped it. I'm not calling it a true DNF. I will tell you what it is. I'm not calling it a true DNF because I feel like I might just not be in the right mindset for it, because I literally only read like 15 pages and I was like, I can't. I don't think I like how it's written. So because the content feels like it's right up what I should want, but the way it's written feels, I don't know. So it's called Cursed. It's by L.R.W. Lee. And it's the Morningstar Academy series.
Yes.
I chose it initially because it's only a little over 200 pages. And so I was like, cool, short book. I could get through it. Like, great. But then I read 15 pages and was like, I can't do it. So I ended up starting another book. So I got a little bit through that one, but I ended up not being able to finish in time for today. So one book it is. So the one book that I finished was If Something Happens to Me by Alex Finlay. It's like a mystery thriller sister book club.
Oh, wow.
And I did listen to it on Everand. It's the book I was listening to when I opened the app to listen to it, and it told me to switch my membership. So this is the last one before that happened. But it's a pretty short book, so even if you listen to it at one time speed, it's only just over 7 hours. So it's not a very long book at all. So it follows these 3 characters. Later in the book you do get some more characters come in, but the first major part of the book has these 3 specific POVs. And it follows this guy named Shane O'Leary, who is a mob boss.
It's a very mob boss name, Shane O'Leary.
Shane O'Leary, yes. It follows Poppy. I forgot her last name, but Poppy, she's like a small town new cop in this town in Kansas. She's prior military, just got back into her hometown and joined the police force. And then follows this guy Ryan, who he's a law student, and but the story kind of centers around his high school whatever.
Okay.
So it starts with Ryan again in law school. So his class that he's in currently is overseas on this school trip or something like that. And 5 years ago, when he was in high school, his girlfriend Allie was taken, believed to be killed. They were at Lover's Lane, hanging out in the car, and he was yanked from the car, pulled out, and they took her away. And basically when he was pulled out of the car, he was, I don't know if he was knocked unconscious, but basically in a position to where he couldn't really see much of what happened. He didn't know if they killed her. He saw the face of one guy, but not all of them.
Okay.
So
nothing enough to be helpful.
Exactly. Okay. And so basically since it happened, he was suspected obviously, because they're like, you didn't see anything, man. Like, okay. But ultimately what ends up happening is they end up pinning it on this serial killer that had been going through town at that point. They had found some of her hair in his campsite. And so they were like, oh, he did it. However, the serial killer never admits to it. He does admit to all his other murders, but not this one. So there's that. And then the Poppy line is, or POV, whatever. Obviously, she's a new cop back from her military service. She's just getting started. And on her first day of the job, they recover Allie's car from the lake, the bottom of the lake. And in the car, they find 2 dead men that are unidentified. And they later identify them. But unidentified, they don't know who they are. And when they pull it from the lake, inside the car, somehow her purse was like perfectly preserved after being in the lake for 5 years. And there's a note. Nice. Yeah, right. Very whatever. So, and there's a note that she left on there basically saying, if something happens to me, read this note. But it ends up being like a cryptic note, like it's a cipher, like whatever.
Okay.
And then the Shane O'Leary storyline is all about how he's a mob boss, right? Like they're living life.
Mobbing.
Yes. There is a trigger warning for suicide in this. There's some things that happen in his storyline that go with that, that ultimately makes him go after some people.
Gotcha.
But I would say all 3 stories ultimately like intersect around like a third or halfway through. Okay. And then around that point is when we kind of get a couple more POVs that come in. There's quite a few twists throughout the whole thing. I would say that most of them were guessable. The narration was all right. There were 3 narrators, 2 men and a woman. None of them were particularly great at doing the opposite sex. So, yeah, doing their own was like normally fine. But all 3 of them seemed to have a problem when they were doing the opposite sex's voice, which was frustrating. I definitely felt like the ending was rushed. Oh, I guess I kind of switched over into my thoughts about it and stopped telling you about what it was because I feel like once they all intersect, I feel like that's where all the spoilers come in. So I kind of gave you as much information of kind of what the baseline of the story is. And then once they intersect, it kind of like, obviously, Ryan starts finding things out because they're like, oh, they found Allie's car. And then Poppy's involved, obviously, because she's the cop there, and there's like all this stuff. And then I can't really tell you how Shane is involved because that's a spoiler. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not that big of a spoiler, but enough of a spoiler that I don't want to tell you. Okay. So yeah, anyways, so I felt like the ending was very rushed. It just kind of was one of those things where it was like all of a sudden all these things start happening and then everything is so convenient. Like this person gets out of it and this person gets out of it and then this person runs away and like, oh, how did like it's wild. And you must suspend all belief in many things. Like because
physics don't exist in this world.
Well, it's kind of like, so Ryan, this isn't really a spoiler. It might be a little bit, but not enough to like ruin anything. But so he's overseas for this trip and somehow he runs into the man he remembers seeing at the car when Allie was taken. And I was like, so 5 years later, you just happen to be in Europe for this school trip. And then that guy shows up and you see his face and you're like, yep, that's him. And then you guys talk.
I remember perfectly.
Yeah, it was just, it's very weird. And then he ends up like jumping all over, like they're in France, and then he's in London, and then he's back in like wherever, like jumping all over the place. And I'm like, bro, you're there on a school trip, and all of a sudden you're just able to like, I'm gonna jump over here, and then I'm gonna jump over there, and then I have all this money, and I could just do whatever I want, and I just happen to be in the right place at the right time every single time.
Right. Like, where are your parents? Right. Where's your chaperone?
Exactly. So I don't know. It was, I would say, mostly unbelievable. There are a lot of characters in this story, and there's like zero development for any of them.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah, there's really like very little development of the story as well. It's just kind of like, this happened and now we're here. And so I don't know. Both my sister and I said 2.5 sounds too low, but 3 sounds too high. So we went with like a 2.8.
Okay.
For this, because it was like, it was enjoyable enough to like want to keep going, as far as like I want to know what happens, but it's not enjoyable in the way that you're like, I can guess what's happening next, I can guess where the story is going, and the complete unbelievability of most of it. So that's that. I think I think that's all I have for you.
That's fair.
Okay. So 2.8 onion petals.
Nice.
Yes.
Onion petals are so tasty.
Oh, they're so good.
Okay.
Okay.
My books. Were you serious about only having one book?
I was serious.
Okay.
Well, my one, and then my one that I didn't. I read 15 pages of.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 2 books.
Okay.
The first one, I'm going to start with my least favorite.
Okay.
Which I don't know how I feel about saying this is my least favorite one, because it was rated pretty well.
Okay.
On Goodreads. So it is called Alexander at the End of the World.
Okay.
It is a history book by Rachel Kousser. And I listened to it on Everand. So
is it your last one?
It could be my last. It could be my last one. My last listen. So, but okay. So this book is, like I said, it's a history. It's set. It starts in 330 BCE, and Alexander the Great is right now he's the greatest of all time. Right.
Okay.
So, but poor Alexander, he cannot leave good enough alone, man. Like, he, instead of going home after like conquering, like, you know, all these other, like all these places, like I think they don't talk about this part because it's after, I think it's after he, like, Egypt and that part. Okay. He's decided that he wants to keep going, and he wants to keep conquering territory, so he wants to go east. Okay. Now, and so he's like, well, I'm gonna go, and all of you people are coming with me. So thousands of people who are like, yay, we're going home. He's like, no, you're coming with me now. So they start heading towards present day, today Afghanistan. Okay. And they're doing this because Alexander is convinced that on the other side of these mountains, the Kush Mountains, there's an ocean. Okay. And that ocean signals the end of the world.
Well, okay, so first, why does he think there's an ocean?
Because I think it's, well, so it's 330. There's not a lot of, there's no, like, you know, cell phones or, you know, maps, great maps or anything. Right. I think he thinks that mostly because Aristotle thinks that. So
that's what I was like, is like a word of like telephone game basically?
Right,
where, okay.
Yeah. So he thinks he's going to go there, and he thinks he's going to find this ocean, and it's going to be the end of the world, and he will have conquered the entire world, right? Is what he thinks.
Oh, so you said end of the world, and I thought like the world is ending. Like,
oh no, sorry.
Like no, the second cover. No,
the edge of the universe.
The edge, yeah.
Gotcha. Like,
I was like, why would this ocean be the end of the world? Like, I'm so confused.
Crazy. This guy's nuts.
Okay.
So
we're on the same page now.
Right. So Alexander decides he's going to go figure this out. And so he drags his men on a 7-year journey to find out. And I'm talking like incredible hardships and
thousands of
miles, thousands of people. It's not like they're carrying food with them, so they're living off the land. They're fighting people the whole way there. And in the end, spoiler alert, Alexander dies. So
if you didn't know already,
Alexander dies.
Okay.
So it's really the last 7 years of his life. I think most people focus on his time in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that, but this is the last 7 years. So I describe this as like a fictional story. It is not that. If you think from my review that this is going to be like a fictional Alexander story, it's not. It's a straight up like dry textbook history. Yeah.
Did he make it to the ocean? Oh,
I think so. I think he makes it into. I think he makes it into India, but like, it's not technically the end of the world, and it's not the end of that continent. So I mean, he kind of took like a detour. So but it's good enough for him.
Okay. Good for you.
Yeah. So anyway, my thoughts on the book. Like I said, it's textbook.
Mm-hmm.
It's written kind of like a textbook to me. Yeah, and I think I said this in the last episode. When you're talking about history that's that old, there's just not that much insight or like written record.
Yeah, there's
a lot because it's Alexander the Great, but I don't consider it to be like fully truthful, you know what I mean? And then also there's nothing that's like gives you insight to why Alexander decided he was gonna do that.
Right. Again, I think we're back to the telephone game, right? Of the story just being given down through generations. At some point it got changed and adjusted and whatever, and not a whole lot of written information.
So I have a personal like I guess thought or my own personal opinion, there we go, of like war and I guess if you want to or conquest of that scale in that time. And I think it's silly. One, because like the whole time they're going through this area, you know, Uzbekistan, I think Turkmenistan, Afghanistan area to get to the Kush Mountains and then over into India. Like the whole time this is happening, they're literally fighting the whole way there. Like every single tiny little faction or group that they come up against, they're like, we're going to fight you and we're going to conquer you. But then they're like, oh, we can't leave our people behind because we have to keep going forward. So I acknowledge that I conquered you and I am in charge, but you can stay in charge when I leave. So, and they're like, yeah, sure. Whatever you say. Yeah. As soon as you're gone, you're still in charge. So,
good gracious.
Yeah. So, I mean, sure, whatever. Yeah, I think it's silly because are you conquering anybody?
No. And when are you're gonna be back in 5 years? Cool, I'll see you then.
It literally takes months to move through that area because all you have are walking and horses. You ain't coming back.
No.
So
regularly enough for me to be like, ooh, I should be worried.
Right, and you left one guy to keep an eye on me? All right.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
You couldn't see me slicing throats, but yeah. So, anyway, I think it's silly. I'm still I was like, by the time I finished the book, I was questioning why I even read it. But in the end, I guess I can't argue with history. I don't know.
Yeah, you could say Alexander the Great is an idiot. Like, that is your stance on history. Yeah. This particular history.
Right. This guy is, anyway. So, okay, so because this book, like I said, it's covering 7 years, and it's covering an incredible amount of territory considering that these people were on foot, right? But because of those things, it almost felt like the story was written as like a play-by-play or a list of events with like small descriptions.
Okay.
I don't really do well with that type of history just because it's hard. It's hard to be interested in something that they're like, I fought a guy whose name I cannot remember, and everybody's named the same thing back then.
Right.
And yeah, it's just a whole list of places that I cannot pronounce. They're unfamiliar to me.
Okay.
And a whole bunch of names that are similar. And I'm like, did you talk to this guy already? Did you fight here already? Like, what? And then there's like 3 sentences or a paragraph of like what happened. And most of the time it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. He went there, he conquered, he pillaged, he burnt the city down.
Right.
Or not. Right?
Yeah.
It's 50-50 chance. So, so I guess like I said, by the end of this book, I was like, yes, I forget how much I don't like this era of history. It's not my fave. But I gave it a try because it had such great ratings. It has like, it's almost 4.5 on like Goodreads. Wow. So I was like, wow, this has to be pretty good. But yeah, I found it kind of boring. Okay. And like I said, it was hard to keep up with all the names and the places. And
well, the way you told it does not sound boring.
I know. So I did it a service.
You get 5 stars for that.
Yeah, I really did it a service by making it sound more interesting than it was. So, but great. All right. Okay, so
did you rate it?
Yes, I did. Okay. I gave it a very generous 3 dark chocolate mango chips. Okay. But like I said, very generous. Mm-hmm. Okay, next one. Mm-hmm. I read the book Foul Days. I'm going to mess this up. Genoveva Dimova is the author. Mm-hmm. I got it as a Kindle Unlimited, but I realized that I also had it on my bookshelf. So I did both. And it is fantasy. Okay, so this book is the first book in the Witch's Compendium of Monsters series.
I hate that word.
Me too. I wrote it down and I was like, I'm going to mess this up hard.
I have to make Tim say it to me every time. Like, I can't ever just say it on my own.
It's the worst. It's the worst word.
The worst word.
So, book 1. This is book 1. Mm-hmm. Book 2 is already out. That's Monstrous Nights, and I have it on my bookshelf, so I will be reading it shortly. Okay. I had to buy it though. It wasn't like it was already there. Okay. So I bought it, and then I did do a quick like gander at Goodreads, and I didn't see if there was anything about a book 3. Mm-hmm. But it says it's a series, so I guess I'm assuming it is. There will be a book 3. So, but more to be continued, more to know once I finish Monstrous Night. So, okay, I'm going to jump up. I hope I don't jump around too much with how I explain this book. So there's a girl. She's a witch. Her name is Kousser, and she is what she calls herself a fire witch. And she lives in a city called Belgrade, and this city is a walled-in city that experiences what they call the Foul Days. Okay. And the Foul Days are, I think, the last 12 days of the year. And during that time, if you want to call it the veil or between two worlds or whatever, is thin enough that monsters can come into Belgrade. Okay. And there's like a whole bunch of crazy ass monsters, and all they want to do is kill humans.
Great.
And eat them.
Okay. Fantastic.
So, right. Or turn them into monsters, something like that. So
they can turn them.
Right.
Okay.
So, side note, like I said, Belgrade is a walled-in city. Inside the wall is the only place the monsters can go. Outside of the wall, the monsters can't go. This wall is a magic wall. So
why would you ever be inside of the magic wall on the Foul Days?
You can't get out.
Oh, there's no escape.
There's no escape, because not only can monsters not get out, but people can't get out. So this wall is, like I said, it's a magic wall. If you want to call it living, sure. Okay. but basically you can't get in or out. And you can, but there is an exception. There's a couple exceptions. So, which are very clearly defined. It's not like at the end of the book, they're like, surprise, we can get in and out. But you can be smuggled in and out if you have like certain artifacts, like magical artifacts, or like certain types of transportation. But if you don't and you try to cross through the wall will kill you.
Oh.
Or it will try to kill you.
Okay.
So people who live inside the city, they're stuck there. People who live outside the city, they're stuck there. Not that they want to come in, right?
Sure.
You know, it's just mostly the people living inside that want to get out.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the wall. That's the city. That's what's going on. Foul days. So back to Kousser. In this world, witches get their power from their shadows, right? So that's where their source of power lives. Now, people can't steal their shadows, but they can give their shadows away. Why they would want to do that is kind of one of those things like, no witch would ever willingly give her shadow away, because on top of you not having powers anymore, it also makes you very, very sick, and you eventually die from it. So,
sure, because it's your source of power.
Right. So on the first day, the first night of Foul Days, Kousser ends up exchanging her shadow to escape the Tsar of Monsters, who also happens to be her ex. So, but so basically she brokers a deal that she'll trade her shadow to get away from this guy, because she knows he's coming for her and he means business this time. So she, in a moment of what you come to realize is panic, she's like, oh great, do it, take it, I'll just get me the F out of here, right?
She thinks this is her only chance.
Correct.
At survival. Okay.
Right. So basically the guy accepts, and next thing she knows, she's on the outside of the wall. And the guy's gone. The one who has her shadow is now gone. And she's like just heartbroken because she doesn't have her shadow. She doesn't have her. She's in a completely like new place, an alien place. And she also knows that in like the end of the 12th day, she's going to die, right? Unless she gets her shadow back. So the rest of the book is her trying to get her shadow back.
Okay.
And along the way, she meets, a detective who agrees to help her for his own reasons. And I wish I could tell you more about the book because it ended up being a pretty good book. Enough for me to buy the second book. So, but I guess my thoughts on the book is, like I said, I really like this book. It almost, I don't want to call it a mystery because it wasn't really a mystery, but it almost read like a whodunit mystery a little bit, because she has no idea who she can trust. She doesn't know who's betrayed her. Right. She's trying to figure out how to get her shadow back, so she doesn't even really know who has it.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a mystery, but
she doesn't know the guy's like name or whatever. That it was just like
it's just a guy.
A deal in the dark.
Yep. So she's trying to figure that out. So some other thoughts. It's the main character, Kousser, and then the detective end up working together throughout the rest of the book, and they become like partners or friends or something like that. But it's one of those things where if they would have been a little bit honest with each other, if they would have like showed their cards, which completely understandable, I guess, or maybe not completely, but understandable that they weren't just like, hi, I don't know you, but here's everything I know.
Yes.
But if there was at least a little bit of honesty between the two of them, everything could have gone much smoother. In the best case scenario. But I thought it was a little bit silly that she gave up her shadow so easily.
Yeah.
When she knew, like, if your choice is death or death,
right?
You know what I mean? So,
right. If I'm gonna have to face it, I want to face it with my magic.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
which is how I kind of felt, but she, for some reason, didn't feel that way.
okay.
And you later figure out the Tsar, what his story is and why she was so terrified of him. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I still, thinking of me in her place, I would definitely, man, I'll fight you with my power than without.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's it. That's about it. There's a little bit of romance in it, but it's very like YA romance.
I was just gonna ask, is it a more YA book versus adult? Okay.
Yeah, there's like, it's mostly the I'm attracted to you and some mild kissing.
Okay.
A lot of people called it like slow burn.
Okay.
But I just kind of called it like, it's more YA romance.
Okay.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the book overall. I would say probably 4.5 star, or 4.5 dark chocolate mango chips. I'd think about it again.
That's pretty good. I mean, obviously, that's kind of what I expected you to say it was going to be, seeing as how you've already bought the second book. I figured you were going to have it pretty high. Yeah.
So it's a good book.
Excellent. Is that when you say foul days, are you like
FOUL?
Oh, I was thinking like chicken. Yes.
Chicken days.
No, you mean FOUL. Okay. Funny. I don't know why I immediately went to bird.
You're like, when do the birds come in, Nicole?
Yeah, why is she fighting birds?
Are all the monsters bird monsters?
Apparently, yes. Okay, great. All right, that's all your book things?
It is all my book things.
Are you ready then to do our pool?
Yes, our book discussion.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Oh no, it's hiding back here behind a little dragon. Oops. Okay. What is your best and worst books to movie and TV shows that you've ever seen?
Oh, good.
Oh, I feel like this one's really hard for you.
A subject that I cannot talk about.
Miss, I don't watch TV or movie. Great. I'm so glad we put this one in here. Do you have any?
Yeah.
I know two. You've watched Twilight and New Moon.
Yes, I have.
Oh, and 3. I made you watch the last Hunger Games movie.
Oh yeah, but I never read the book.
But you never read the book, yeah.
So, I guess yes, I have probably a couple.
Okay.
I would say call it best.
Yes, because
it is one of my favorite books. The Martian is one of my favorite books, and that's why I watched the movie.
Yeah.
So like I said, one of my favorite books, but I like the movie except to the end. At the end, they kind of like go off in their own little whatever, and I didn't like that. So I thought it was silly. Okay. And then
so mostly a good adaptation.
Yeah, mostly a good adaptation. All
right.
I've read and seen the first Harry Potter book movie.
Okay. Did you read that book though?
I read the book, the first Harry Potter book.
Okay.
And I watched the first movie.
Okay.
But I haven't continued with the Harry Potter series.
Okay.
It's been about 10 years, so
okay.
It's been on my to-do list.
Maybe we'll add that to our list.
Yes. I feel like those are the main two. I've read the Great Escape and seen the movie, the old movie. I've also read Catch-22, and I know they had a TV show a couple years back based on the book, but I only watched like one episode. Okay. And I didn't watch the rest. I didn't finish the season, and I don't even know if there's multiple seasons. I was just kind of like,
okay. Oh, you were done.
And I was just like, it wasn't enough to like get me in there. So, fair. I think That's all I can think of off the top of my head, but
Okay.
I'm sure you have some.
I have so many.
All right.
I feel like I have okay, so I feel like I should have more than I actually do. But I do have some that like immediately come off the top of my head. So I will say I think I have kind of a mix, like the same amount almost on both best and worst list. What should I start with?
Worst.
Worst. Okay. I have one that is probably the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. I was so upset about this one. Beautiful Creatures. Have you ever heard of that? So it's a fantasy. I couldn't even tell you what it's about, actually. At this point, I read them a long time ago. The movie has got to be 10 plus years ago, something like that. It is fucking terrible. It's like they didn't even try.
Like they didn't read the book.
Yes, it was like, oh, this is a big book. We should just call this movie Beautiful Creatures. Like they changed so much. They changed how it ended. Like it almost so the book I think is a trilogy. I think I only read the first book because it's not the greatest. But I'm pretty sure that they ended the movie as if there's no other whatever. Anyways, it's not good. The Divergent series. So I actually really like the first movie. And the first book. I feel like maybe the movies follow the books because the first one is great on both accounts. Second book, second movie, meh. Third book is fucking terrible. I hated that book. And the third movie, they actually split it into two, but the first part did so bad they never made the second part.
Oh, wow.
So that tells you something, I think. A TV show was 13 Reasons Why. I actually really, so I read that book a long time ago, probably 15 plus years ago. And I remember really, really enjoying the book. It's much, for as dark of a story as it is, it's actually written, like, if I remember correctly, more sweet. Where the show is like she's out to get everybody almost. She's like, you fucked me over and now I'm gonna tell you why, basically. Right. And it just came off like a different vibe.
Like more of like a vendetta than just like an explanation or something.
Yeah. And then also the story keeps going. They did like four or five seasons or whatever of their own storyline that don't follow the book. And the show, it's too much. And then I'll tell you one too that Tim, I've never read it or seen the movie, but Ready Player One, he said, it's terrible.
Oh yes. You say that, but now I think so. I've never read the book. I saw the movie, and I was like, oh, that's a cute movie. Ethan saw the movie and he's read the book, and he was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's exactly what Tim did.
So
yeah, he said they changed things that did not make sense to be changed, for sure.
Gotcha.
And then the last one I'll say is for the worst side. But I don't really, the reason why I put this one last is because to me, I feel like it could be on the line somewhere of best and worst, is the Shadowhunters movie. They did change some things from the book. It did not get as much, like, it got a lot of hate for, like, I don't think it deserved the amount of hate that it got for, like, some of the things that the movie did that the books didn't do. But I do understand some of it. So, like, the movie I don't think is that bad, but I do think that they changed things that they shouldn't have. Then they ultimately made it into an ABC Family show, and that was just
Bad choice.
It had ABC Family acting, and that was unfortunate.
I gotcha.
Okay, so my best ones.
Okay.
I think the Harry Potters should go on that list. I think obviously they did massively well. The movies are well made. I feel like for the most part they follow the books as closely as they can. So I'm going to put that one.
I don't think you would be alone in that.
Right. The Hunger Games movies I think are done really well. I think they also follow the book pretty closely. I do, if I remember correctly, there are a couple things that are like different and change, but I think they're well-made movies, and I think they're like they follow well. And then just some like random books. Water for Elephants. I've actually heard mixed reviews on that, like from book to movie. I personally enjoyed the book to movie like adaptation. So for me personally, I really liked it. It was hard to watch some of it because it's like some animal cruelty.
Yeah.
But I think the movie is really well done. I really like it. The movie The Help. The book is fantastic.
Yes.
And the movie I feel like holds up. Like I think it's a good adaptation.
Nice.
Shutter Island was good.
Is that Leonardo DiCaprio? Lost me.
You're already out?
Already out.
Okay. And then the last one I will say that I remember being a good book to movie is Beautiful Boy. That one is really hard. So I would also recommend that book. So do you want me to tell you real fast?
Do
you know what it is?
Is that with Steve Carell?
Yeah, so Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet.
Yep.
But the book is so it's a true story. It's written from the father's point of view of his son being an addict, and it's what he went through during the time of his son doing like in and out of rehab, like leaving the house, like all this stuff. I feel like the adaptation to the movie was really good, maybe just because both the actors are fantastic. Like they just do a massively great job at like the emotion. But if you're not interested in watching that, the book is great. It's like very heartfelt, but there's also a second book that the son writes from his point of view during the same timeline. And it's also very good, but very difficult. It's a very heavy book because he's talking about his addiction the whole time and what it was like. Hard. But both are great. Both are great. I would recommend both of those. They never made obviously the second, like a one from his point of view, because they kind of put it all into the one movie. But sorry, that was a really long rant for that one, but I really, really enjoyed those books. And so that
feels like a book I'd have to like prepare myself for and also be in a mood for. I don't think that's something I could just pick up and be like, I think I'll read this today. No,
you definitely have to be ready for it because it's very heavy. It's very sad, especially like a lot of the times where his dad doesn't know where he is. It's very sad. So, but I feel like both actors did great in that movie.
Nice.
I kind of want to go watch it. But yeah, that's that.
Your favorite?
I had a lot.
Your favorite? That's good. Yeah. Part of me was thinking while you were talking, I was like, man, maybe I should add this as like, you know, like to my like to-do list for next year. You know, when we talk about what we're gonna read and how we're gonna, you know, in 2025, like our list of what to do. So maybe I'll try and pick like a couple books that have adaptations, and force myself to watch a movie.
You know, there is I actually have two on my list that I would want to one, I want to read Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because I want to see whatever. But go ahead.
I was gonna say I haven't read Jurassic Park, but I've heard that it's wild. Like I've heard that it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but still great. Like still great, but wildly good. But to your point, Jurassic Park the movie is fantastic.
Right.
I've thought about the same thing. I kind of want to read Jurassic Park, but I'm scared.
I know.
Because I love Jurassic Park the movie.
I know. So I kind of feel the same way. But another one I have on my list that I've actually heard that the movie is like massively better than the book, which makes me kind of want to read the book, is The Green Mile. I've heard that movie is like, and the movie is great.
Yes. I think I've heard the same thing, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
Another one that I've heard that about, which I actually didn't even know it was a book before I heard this, was Forrest Gump.
Yes. Yes, I've heard that about Forrest Gump, but also Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
Is another Stephen King book that they made a movie. And Shawshank Redemption is one of the best, my top 10 movies.
It's a fantastic movie.
Right. So that's another book that I don't think I can ever read because I don't want it. Like, I know it won't take away from the movie,
right?
But I'll be doing the opposite. How everybody's like watching when they're like, "It's not the book." I'll be like, "It's not the movie."
Exactly. But that's funny because so Shawshank is a Stephen King. Mm-hmm. And so is Green Mile. It's funny that both of those are better movies, people say. I don't remember who wrote Forrest Gump, but I have heard that the book is terrible.
Yes, I have heard that.
Interesting. Yes, I feel like that's a fun thing to add to our end of year episode for goals of 2025 of like books that we want to read that maybe we've already seen the movie, or maybe we know that a movie has been made and so we watch and read them.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna do that this year.
Excellent. I might pick like 2.
Yeah, if I did it wouldn't be more than like 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotta space them out. Like
That's
maybe
right.
one every 6 months or something. But yeah.
Excellent.
So while you were talking, I did look it up because after you were like, "Is it a Stephen King?" I was like, "Is it a Stephen King?" I was like, "Yes." So yes, it's based on a novella. So
okay.
They made a whole book. They made that whole movie off of a novella.
Did you know that the Shawshank prison is close to us here? It's only like an hour or 2 away for where they filmed. We should go there. Let's do it.
Okay. Is it still an active prison?
No, they do tours. Like yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Check.
Road trip.
All right. I think that's everything. Oh, what do you have?
No, I was just thinking about just like back to something that you said earlier, like how they just kind of go off on their own and do their own things. And it made me wonder in my brain, it made me wonder why, or are there writers who regret selling their film rights after they've seen the movie? And I'm sure there's a list out there, right? But I'd be interested to know. I mean, it's probably worth a Google, but I'll be interested to know if any of our listeners know that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, like have you heard an interview or something with an author who said.
Right, that after the movie. Because I've actually heard that, like, the woman who wrote the Bridgerton series, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, that she gave them, like, full creative licensing, and they're wildly different. So actually that's another book. Those are books that I've read. I've read like I think there's, I don't know how many there are, but I've read like the first 2 or 3. Okay. And I watched the first season. Okay. I watched a couple episodes of the first season, and I've seen enough like small clips and videos on the internet to know that they're not the same. Okay. wildly different.
Yeah.
And I know that the author was like, they did an interview with her and she was like, yeah, I'm cool with it. Do whatever you want.
I got paid.
Yeah. She was like, do whatever you want. Like,
yeah.
you know, she's so, I'd be interested if there's other stories out there like that.
Yeah, I was going to say there's probably a good mix of people who are like probably very married to their story where they don't want it to be changed and are upset when it is. And others who are just like, I put my story out there. You gave me money. Now you can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if anybody out there knows, you can shoot me a message or
yes,
yell at me on Instagram or something.
Yes. Or email us.
Or email us.
Go to savorthestorypod.com. Send us an email.
Wow.
Thank you for that segue.
Pretty good.
You did. And then what else can you do? You can also go to our Instagram. Yep, at savorthestorypod. Hit us up there and give us 5 stars. We love 5 stars. We want you to give us all the stars.
Yes. All the stars.
All the comments.
All the little thumbs ups.
Yes. All of the things. Show us some love. Because when you give us 5 stars, the platforms start recommending us to more people.
Yes.
We're back to the pyramid scheme that Nicole is saying we're on.
If you tell 5 friends and they tell 5 friends, they tell 5 friends, then someday we'll have 30 followers.
We'll just have a cute little book community.
Exactly.
Who like to eat snacks.
Who also love to eat snacks.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
So that's it. Bye.
Bye. Get out of here.
So much water. It's very pink. It's much more pink than I would have thought you would have bought.
It's the only color they had.
Oh.
But it already has the little like timestamps on it.
Oh, it does?
So I don't have to do it myself. I was like, I could do that. That way I don't have to fill up my water bottle 4 times every day.
Yeah. And now you know if you're on track or not.
Yes. So I've only been filling it up to the 11 a.m. mark.
Oh.
Because it's an 80-ounce bottle. Who the fuck drinks 80 ounces of water in a day? I did the last 2 days.